And as promised, we're joined by political analyst and Kyiv Post correspondent Джейсон Джей Смарт for the latest news from Ukraine. Good evening, sir. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, sir, President Volodymyr Zelensky said Ukraine's long-awaited counteroffensive against Russia's invasion force had yet to start. Now, the counteroffensive is highly anticipated. When do you believe it will officially start?
I mean, nobody knows. That's the whole point of it, though, is it's supposed to be secret. So we don't know for sure. It is, of course, anticipated to be probably in the near future. There are a lot of signs that things are ticking up. And the Russians, most importantly, you could see from the Russian side how they're reacting. So, I mean, without even talking about what the Ukrainians are doing, we could see that the Russian news correspondents are going crazy, that the lines are being lost around Bakhmut. It appears that Ukraine is using technology that had not earlier been known that they had. They've received from the United States specifically, just today, actually. And so there's different things coming that the Russians are saying are indications of the fact that there is a counteroffensive that's begun.
Right. Well, that's something that's, as you say, rather vague and understandably being kept under wraps. But there is something interesting going on in Bakhmut with Prigozhin, Wagner's boss, continually complaining about lack of ammunition, lack of support, the Russian military running away and leaving land for which 500 soldiers died and so on. Is this genuine? What's behind Prigozhin's outbursts?
It's increasingly clear that this is legitimate. It's increasingly clear that Prigozhin is very upset. The attacks that he's making against the leadership of the Russian military are significant. I do not remember any time actually in Russian history, that is in post-Soviet Russian history, where something like this has happened. I mean, just so aggressively attacking the Russian response, the Russian government's response. And he has said what also Alexander Dugin has also said. Alexander Dugin, the thinker who is aligned with Putin, has said that Prigozhin is correct, what is going on here. And we see within the Russian elites, there's a lot of chaos, that they're very concerned of what's happening. It's clear that there is, within the Russian military itself, mayhem, complete disorder. Their lines are breaking down. Prigozhin's using this for his self-interest. And all of this is boiling up to be a real mess. And it looks like it does have the real potential. This is not just optimism, but sincerely, this could be what you've seen historically, like in 1918 for the Russian military in World War I, where it's just a total collapse, where all of a sudden the soldiers just stop going to the war. They bail out. And you see a collapse, structural collapse of the Russian military.
Now, the UK has donated cruise missiles with a range of over 250 kilometers. Now, do you believe this is a game changer?
Yes, of course it is. And with these missiles, Ukraine is now able to hit absolutely every point of their territory. So whether it is any point in Crimea, if it's anything in Donbass, it's easy to target. And where that's going to be, I think, effective, especially somewhere, imagine Crimea. I mean, there's only two ways off the place, which is to go through the Ukrainian side, which obviously the Russians can't do, or go via the land bridge. If that land bridge can now be destroyed that connects to Russia, it puts Russia in a really bad place. If Ukraine then strikes, let's say, the ports there, strikes the airport there, all of a sudden, Russia has no connection anymore, no ability to get to its military located there. And it's completely cut off from the world. And I think it would be quite easy, relatively, to then take over the Crimean Peninsula.
Jason, I mean, one of the concerns with supplying long-range weaponry to Ukraine has always been the risk of escalation. Now, the UK has taken the lead in providing these long-range missiles. Is the risk still there, or has that deteriorated in some way?
I think that the risk of escalation is something that's no longer being talked about that much. It is, of course, it still does come up, but it's not the central issue. Because the fact is this: Ukraine has already been trusted for more than a year with a lot of foreign technology. They've never used it to attack any points inside of Russia, which has always been a concern. And the fact is the Russians have no really direction to escalate this further. What can they possibly do? There's not much the Russians can really do themselves to escalate things further than they already are.
Okay, well, thank you very much for joining us, Jason. Unfortunately, we're going to have to leave it there, and stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.